Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the book of 1 Corinthians. Today we're looking again at 1 Corinthians chapter 12. We're going to wrap up the chapter today looking at the last two gifts of the Holy Spirit that Paul mentions in this chapter. Now, I spent several days looking at the gifts. There are two listings of the gifts in chapter 12. And each of the listings has 9 different gifts listed. Verses 7 through 11 is the first listing of the gifts. 9 gifts are there. And then verses 28 through 30 are a second listing of the gifts. 9 gifts are listed here. But the two lists are not exactly the same. 5 of the gifts are in both lists, but then the latter paragraph has 4 additional gifts. And today we're looking at the last 2, which are found in verse 28, where Paul mentions the gifts of helping and the gift of guidance. So the gift of helps and the gift of guidance. Now, what is the gift of helps? The best way to understand this gift, it is a supernatural endowment to be able to help others in the performance of their ministry or in their walk with Christ. It is a ministry of helping other believers. Now, the one who has this gift is spiritually sensitive to others and their needs. This person recognizes when someone needs some help. Sometimes the help might be financial. Someone is struggling monetarily, and they step in to help. Sometimes, and more often, I suppose, the help might be emotional. Someone just needs a friend to come and walk alongside them, and the person with this gift realizes this and becomes that friend in need. Sometimes the help is spiritual. You see someone needs some spiritual bolstering and upholding, and you draw close to pray for them, to pray with them, to strengthen them by the presence of your Spirit. Do you see how this gift operates? It's a very quiet gift, often not noticed at all by most in the church, but the person with the gift of helps is sensitized by the Holy Spirit to the needs of other believers and recognizes how they can be helped and steps in to help them at points of need. You can see what a wondrous gift this is, to have that sensitivity, to recognize the power of the Holy Spirit when others are in need, and to be able to step in and help them at that very point. And then the other gift Paul mentions, the last gift in these of chapter 12, is the gift of guidance. And this means the one who can guide the church in doing its work well. Perhaps a better way to translate the word guidance is simply the word administration. This is the person who has the gift to administer the ministry activities of the church, to guide the church through proper administration in doing its work well. Now again, this is a kind of quiet gift, and we often just see the person with this gift as a leader, a natural leader. But it's really not natural so much as it is spirit endowed. They have the ability to see all the ministries of the church and to organize them for effective ministry. You know, sometimes we in the church begin to do so many different kinds of ministries and so many different kinds of tasks, and there's lots of kind of things going on. And we need someone with this gift to administer the work, to organize us so that the ministries might proceed well. I think historically, one of the great examples of this gift of administration or this gift of guidance was John Wesley. My background is in the Methodist tradition, and I'm so familiar with John Wesley, the beginner of the Methodist revival. And John Wesley's great genius, I believe his spiritual gift, was administration. Now, Wesley was a great preacher and a great evangelist. He brought many people into the faith. But his real genius was his ability to organize them. He took those who responded to the message and organized them into small groups called classes, about 12 who would meet together and watch over each other's souls. He organized, he administered the work of that revival movement. That was a spiritual gift, the ability to guide the new movement so that ministry proceeded well. So in these last two gifts, mentioned by the Apostle Paul in chapter 12, we see great value the Holy Spirit gives to the church. In the gift of helps, that person who sees the needs of others and is able to step in and help them at that point of need. And the one who has the gift of administration, who is able to lead the church and help the church stay organized in doing this ministry well. Okay, this completes chapter 12, and Paul gave us a lot of in-depth teaching about the gifts of the Holy Spirit and how he distributes them across the church that we might do our ministry well. Now, as we move into chapter 13 tomorrow, he begins to talk about the way of love, because he wants us to understand that as we minister in the power of the gifts of the Spirit, we must do so always motivated by love. And so chapter 13, he talks about how we minister in love. It is the great love chapter. And we'll begin to look at that in our next 5-minute Bible study in the book of 1 Corinthians. I hope you'll join us.